We need to talk about your coffee. Not because it actually matters, but because of what it represents. You've heard this narrative everywhere. From financial talk shows to TikTok gurus, the message is always the same. You are poor because you are undisciplined. You can't afford a house, you can't build wealth, you can't get ahead because you bought a $7 latte. And if you just stopped, if you made coffee at home and invested that money into an index fund, you'd be a millionaire in a few decades. It's clean, it's simple, and it's a lie. It's a comforting lie because it suggests the system is still fair. It tells you that everything is within your control, that your financial future is just a matter of discipline. If the problem is your coffee habit, then the solution is easy. Just stop buying coffee. It gives you a sense of control in a world that feels increasingly chaotic. But deep down, you already know something doesn't add up. You've tried it. You skipped the lattes. You brought your lunch to work. You canceled subscriptions. You stopped going out. You optimized everything. You turned your life into a checklist of discipline. And yet, nothing really changed. The gap between where you are and where you were told you should be didn't shrink. It got bigger. You are doing everything right, and somehow you still feel like you're drowning. That's because the problem was never the coffee. They are telling you to focus on the crumbs while the entire bakery is being looted behind your back. This narrative puts the blame entirely on you, so you never look at the system itself. It keeps your attention down on your spending, your habits, your mistakes, instead of up at the structures that actually determine your financial reality. You are not failing the system. The system is functioning exactly as intended. To understand this, we have to go back, not to your habits, but to history, because the world you were told to expect doesn't exist anymore. In fact, it hasn't existed for a long time. In 1970, the median household income in the United States was around $8,700. The median home price was about $17,000. That means a house costs roughly 2 times your annual income. Think about that. 2 years of work could buy the most important asset of your life. A single income, often from someone without a college degree, was enough to support a family, own a home, and still save for the future. That wasn't luxury. That was normal. Today, that reality is almost unrecognizable. Now, the median household income sits around $75,000, while the median home price is over $400,000. That's more than 5 times your income. And that's not even in major cities, where it can be significantly worse. What used to take 2 years of income now takes decades, and often it's completely out of reach. So what changed? In 1971, something happened that fundamentally altered the trajectory of the global economy. The United States ended the gold standard. The dollar was no longer backed by a physical asset. Money became fiat, which means it is backed only by trust and the government's ability to issue more of it. This wasn't just a technical shift. It changed the rules of the entire system.
When money can be created out of thin air, the people closest to its creation benefit the most. Banks, corporations, and asset owners receive new money first. By the time that money reaches you, through wages, its value has already been diluted by inflation. This is known as the Cantillon effect, and it quietly reshapes wealth distribution over time. If you look at economic data, you'll notice a pattern. Around the early 1970s, everything starts to break apart. Before that, productivity and wages moved together. When workers produced more, they earned more. It was a simple, fair exchange. After that, the connection broke. Productivity kept increasing. Technology improved, efficiency skyrocketed. Workers became more valuable than ever. But wages? They barely moved. The value created didn't disappear. It was redirected. You are producing more than previous generations ever did, but you are not being compensated in the same way. The system didn't collapse. It evolved, and it evolved in a way that concentrates value at the top. At the same time, inflation steadily erodes the value of your money. Over the past decades, the purchasing power of the dollar has dramatically dropped. That means even when your income increases, your ability to actually buy things doesn't keep up. So while you're being told to save small amounts of money, the value of that money is quietly shrinking. You are trying to fill a bucket that has a hole in the bottom. And nowhere is this more visible than in housing. A house used to be a place to live. Now it's a financial asset, a vehicle for investment, a tool for generating returns. After the 2008 financial crisis, large institutions began entering the housing market in a way they never had before. Corporations started buying single-family homes, not to live in them, but to rent them out.
to generate yield, to turn housing into a subscription model. When a house goes on the market today, you're not just competing with other families, you're competing with capital, with algorithms, with entities that can pay cash above asking price without hesitation. They don't need a home. They need an asset. And every property they acquire reduces the supply available to people who actually want to live there. This creates a cycle. As prices rise, fewer people can afford to buy. As fewer people buy, more people are forced to rent. And as demand for rent increases, rents go up. The system feeds itself. This is the rent trap. In many places, rent consumes 40 to 50% of a person's income. That means nearly half of your working hours are spent just to maintain shelter, not to build wealth, not to create freedom, just to exist. When that much of your income is locked away, saving becomes nearly impossible. And without savings, ownership becomes unreachable. The ladder of upward mobility isn't just higher, it's disappearing. And before you even enter the system, you're often already in debt. The education system promises opportunity. It tells you that if you invest in yourself, you will be rewarded. But the cost of that investment has exploded. Tuition has risen far beyond inflation, turning education into one of the largest debt burdens in modern life. Student loans are unique. They are difficult, sometimes impossible to escape. They follow you for decades. They shape your decisions. They limit your options. Instead of starting your life with momentum, you start with a financial weight pulling you backward. This creates a kind of invisible constraint. You don't choose your career freely. You choose based on survival. You take the job that pays enough to manage your debt. You delay risk. You postpone freedom. And even outside of these structural pressures, there's another layer to the system, one that operates psychologically. You are constantly being influenced to spend. Through social media, advertising, and digital platforms, you are exposed to a continuous stream of curated lifestyles, perfect homes, perfect vacations, perfect lives. And compared to that, your reality feels insufficient. So you consume, not always because you need to, but because you're trying to close the gap between how you feel and how you think you should feel. The system creates stress and then sells you the solution to that stress. It's a loop. You work to earn, you spend to cope. You work more to sustain that spending, and the cycle continues. This is why focusing only on small expenses misses the bigger picture. It's not that your habits don't matter, they do, but they exist within a much larger structure that shapes outcomes in ways individual decisions alone cannot overcome. So what do? You don't fix this by following the same script that created it. You start by questioning what normal actually means, because in the current system, normal often means being in debt, being stressed, and being dependent on a paycheck. You reduce your reliance on that system where you can, not as a trend, but as a strategy. Lowering your expenses isn't about deprivation, it's about reducing the amount of your life you have to sell. You look for leverage, ways to decouple your time from your income, because trading hours for money in a system that devalues both is a losing equation over time. And most importantly, you shift your perspective, because once you understand the structure, the narrative changes. It's no longer about blaming yourself for every outcome. It's about recognizing the environment you're operating in and adapting accordingly. The goal isn't perfection, it's awareness, because when you stop focusing only on the coffee, you start to see everything else. And once you see it, you can't unsee it.